Hello everyone, it's Mr. Skin. How you doing? I'm here March 25th, 2021 to talk what's new in Nudity this week. And as usual, it's a busy week. And I want to start with, Sharon Stone revealed several Me Too moments she had to endure. She has an upcoming memoir called The Beauty of Living Twice. And Vanity Fair did an excerpt, and one of the things in there, which I totally believe, and it's shitty, but it says that one of the producers, and they didn't say which movie, but in one of the movies she did in the 80s or 90s, one of the producers said that she should have sex with her male co-star to enhance the film they were working on, and she blew it off. She was pissed, but that was kind of the way it was. But the bigger thing I wanted to talk about is her claim, and you've probably heard it many times, that scene she shot in Basic Instinct, the infamous lake cross scene, was not, she didn't know what was happening. And she said that, and she talks about it in this, and she says that they asked her to remove her panties because the whiteness was reflecting the light. So she did so, and then after seeing what was actually caught on film, I guess she went nuts and supposedly slapped Paul Verhoeven and called her lawyer and said she could put an end to the movie coming out. But she ended up letting it go, and she said it was because, after all, I did it, and it was important to her character, I guess. But Paul Verhoeven totally denies this happened, and he says they discussed it in detail. I don't know what's the truth. I suspect she's misremembering what happened, because I don't know how you could film that scene with no underwear and not know what was going on. But I will say this: when people ask me what's my favorite nude scene of all time, I always say Phoebe Cates in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But when people ask me what's the most famous nude scene of all time, I say Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct, because think about how many times that scene's been parodied, referenced. It's just, you say the word Basic Instinct, and the first thing you think about is the lake cross scene. So to me, if you're wondering, the most famous nude scene of all time is 1992's Basic Instinct, the skinfamous lake cross scene. So I just wanted to talk a little about that before I get into some of these new releases. The Undoing. I know we've talked about this on my live updates, but that was at HBO's psychological miniseries starring Nicole Kidman. She played Grace Frazier, who's a successful New York City therapist, has a good life, married to Hugh Grant, or a character Hugh Grant's playing, and they have a son in an elite private school in New York. And this all changes when her husband goes missing after the brutal murder of a local woman, which her husband was probably responsible for. In this miniseries, I think it started around October 25th of 2020, and lots of people watched the show on HBO. And if you saw it, or even if you didn't, you probably heard about, in the very first episode, Matilda DeAngelis walked up to Nicole Kidman in a locker room, and it was definitely one of the best nude scenes of 2020. She's completely naked. She just stands there and talks to her. And we loved it. We had it in our top 10. I think came in at number 5 for the year. But it also put her on the map, Matilda DeAngelis. Nicole Kidman did not get nude in The Undoing, but this Matilda DeAngelis scene was so good and so memorable and just kind of cool to see. You usually don't see women's locker room scenes anymore. That was more of an 80s thing. But it was great. And coincidentally, I wanted to talk about a new TV show we found. I think it's from Italy. I wasn't sure if it was Italy or France, but my Skits International division tracked it down. And our friend Matilda has another nude scene. And again, she does a good nude scene in the very first episode. It's a little tricky to find. We have ways of digging up these. This hasn't been brought over on Netflix or Hulu or anything. We found it in somewhere in Italy, but we have it at Mr. Skin if you want to check it out. But it's called Leonardo, about Leonardo da Vinci, and she does more nudity, and that's always great news. Now, another thing I was really blown away by was the this new movie called Deadly Illusions, which is a Netflix original movie, and it stars Sex and the City's Kristin Davis. Now, Sex and the City is obviously an iconic, legendary show, but 3 of the 4 actresses did nudity on the show. Cynthia Nixon, Kristin Davis, Kim Cattrall. Of course, Sarah Jessica Parker never did. Famously, she supposedly had a no nudity clause in her contract. Well, Kristin Davis did the briefest of the 3. And her last nude scene was in an episode in 2002 where they were out with a bunch of, I think they were firefighters or sailors or something. They were at a party, and I think it was for sailors. And she is sitting at the table and she flashes her right breast. And that was in 2002. Here we are in 2021. She's 56 years old. She has not done a nude scene since that breast flash in 2002. Well, in this movie, Deadly Illusions, Kristin Davis, who I just said is 56 years old now, plays this best-selling author named Mary Morrison. And she has a dream life with Dermot Mulroney, who plays her husband. They have children. The only problem is that the kids are getting older and getting like less and less, or she's getting like less and less time to write, and she's busy. So she hires this college student played by Grace, her name's Grace, played by Greer Grammer, who's the daughter of Kelsey Grammer. And really beautiful, and she's playing a college girl, and she's like her assistant to help her as she begins work on this new novel. She's supposed to help with the kids or do whatever. And lo and behold, and this blew my mind, I did not see this one coming, but they hook up and have this affair, and there's this incredible scene at the 54-minute mark where Kristin Davis is in the bathtub, and Greer Grammer is like hand under the water, pleasuring her. Such a sexy scene. And like I said, I just didn't see it coming, because this movie plays like one of those Lifetime movies, you know, where there was always like heated passion and sex, but you never saw anything. And all of a sudden, Kristin Davis is showing her breasts in the tub, and she's being fingered and by a younger woman, and the cougar kitten lesbian scene, which is fantastic. So anyway, if you haven't seen Deadly Illusions, download it from Netflix, and I highly recommend it. It's a very sexy affair between Kristin Davis and Greer Grammer, and definitely one I didn't see coming. No pun intended. Also, I want to turn you on to a movie while we're on the subject, Coven of Sisters. If you're into horror movies and nudity, this is a new Spanish witch movie from Netflix, and the bewitching Umaya Ubarustini, Eberusteri, who we didn't know before this too well, but there is a scene at the hour and 2 minute mark where she shows her butt, and when we do our Anatomy Awards next year, this will definitely be in the running for Best Butt of 2021. But the movie's called Coven of Sisters. It's you can find it on Netflix. It's new. It's Spanish. It's fun. Hot girls, and something we highly recommend, especially at the hour and 2 minute mark. Definitely check that out. And then last but not least, I wanted to talk about the greatest group shower scene in movie history. So if you're ever at a party and someone comes up to you and says, "What's the greatest group shower scene in the history of movies?" Just tell them it's Porky's from 1982. And we were talking about this at our office. It was late last week. It was the 39th birthday in 1982 when Porky's came out. And what's incredible about that is that there's not like, none of the actresses in the scene are super famous or famous really at all. Keke Hunter is probably the most well-known of the girls in the scene, but it was just such a classic movie. It was a really funny scene with everything that went on with the three guys. The infamous quote, "Enough wool to knit a sweater," was really funny too. But in the history of movies, if you ask me, greatest group shower scene of all time has to be Porky's. And they just celebrated its 39th birthday. Obviously, next year is going to be a big deal, but wanted to share that with you guys. And last but not least, I noticed on our website that we just put in new high-definition pictures from a 1994 movie called Camellia with Bridget Fonda and Jessica Tandy. And it was made just before Jessica Tandy died. In fact, it was 4 years after Driving Miss Daisy, which came out in 1990. But what's really interesting about that movie, if anyone asks you, what's the oldest famous person to ever do a nude scene? The answer is 84-year-old Jessica Tandy, who went for a skinny dip with Bridget Fonda in this movie Camilla. And it's just more out of interest. Like I want to say, put it in perspective, it was 4 years after Driving Miss Daisy, but the fact that she did her first and only nude scene when she was 84 years old is really incredible. And it's a great trivia question. Famous actress, oldest nude scene, Jessica Tandy, 84 years old, in Camilla. And we just added that to MrSkin.com. This, I think it was yesterday or within the last couple of days. So wanted to bring that up. And last but not least, our $1 million bracket challenge. We just announced the winners, so you could go to the website and see what our independent company chose and see if your bracket matched, and you could win $1 million. So go to the front page of MrSkin.com and look at the link for $1 million bracket challenge and check it out. But anyway, that is it. I appreciate you stopping by, and we will talk next week. We got a fun thing planned for next week for April Fool's Day. We got a fun top 5 list for everyone. So stop by. Take care.